Well then everybody, it seems that Bobby's day has somewhat came. And, well look, this is just a pretty damn explosive, really an explosive bunch of reporting from the Wall Street Journal that has since, of course, been elaborated and followed up on. So today we're able to bring you the story here, as well as the follow-up to the story. So what Activision-Blizzard have said, what is on Bobby Kotick's video, what Jen Oneal has said, as well as Mike Ybarra as well in an internal email today. So it is all very unfortunate and also interesting business. And with that said, I think, Matt, let's just get into it. Okay, so Bobby Kotick is in hot water following a new report from the Wall Street Journal. Now, this report basically says that Bobby really knew a lot of the things that were going on at the company, including some of the significantly more serious allegations, but essentially covered it up. You know, didn't fully tell the board, as an example. Also minimized the severity of goings-on as well. So this is all not particularly good stuff. And also the Wall Street Journal have reported that Jen Oneal left Blizzard because she lost faith in management's ability to revamp the company culture. Now, remember when Jen Oneal went? I remember seeing so many people in my Twitter replies being like, oh, it's normal for people to move from job to job. Why are you being such a hater? Being suspect over it. Motherfucker, she left her job after 3 months. Like, come on, Yes, Jen did not leave voluntarily. Yes, that $1 million donation to Women in Games International is basically just some PR money. We'll get into that. Now, of course, the numbers do matter to any of the types of people we're talking about here, so you can see that Activision-Blizzard stock has fallen further. Not absolutely humongous, but you know, it is at a pretty much a one-year low. So that's obviously not ideal. Now, to some people, they will see this as a buying opportunity for a company that has a lot of really good fundamentals. So you know, that's the sort of thing that could maybe drive this price up. I think there's a lot of uncertainty right now, what will happen to Bobby Kotick, etc., that we'll probably play around with how the stock is doing. Now, to get into the actual core meat of it here, the Wall Street Journal article. So, we're just going to do some highlights here. So this is reporting from Kirsten Grind, Ben Fritz, and Sarah E. Needleman. So for some of the, I guess, highlights is one way to put them. Kotick received an email in July 2018 from a lawyer representing a former Sledgehammer Games employee. This employee, the lawyer alleged the employee had been raped in 2016 and 17 by their male supervisor after being forced to drink too much at office work events. The employee reported the incident to HR and supervisors. Nothing was done about it. And Activision then reportedly reached an out-of-court settlement with that employee. But while the employee had reported the incident to the police, pretty serious, Bobby Kotick did not inform Activision-Blizzard's board of directors about the allegations or the settlement. So, kind of misleading the board. That's not good. Now, when we look at all this stuff with Bobby, I really don't think, at least from my understanding of it so far, that anything of the sort of sexual harassment nature is being pinned on Bobby right now.
No.
It seems far more significantly like, basically, Bobby is trying to manage PR, manage the company, try to get everything to make the most money possible, and therefore the things that are not convenient to that goal get squashed and diminished. But there are misconduct allegations against him that we do need to talk about. They're a bit more historical. We don't have any more recent ones, but we'll get into that. So Kotick has reportedly told directors and other execs that he was not aware of recent allegations, and he downplayed the severity of some of the other ones. But documents seen by the Wall Street Journal reportedly show how Kotick actually knew about misconduct allegations, but did not pass the knowledge on, and this is even after regulators started looking into the company. And his subpoena by the SEC was directly related to how much of this shit he actually knew and how much he told other leaders. Could be brutal, whatever comes up via this subpoena. And the thing there is, I don't know exactly how this would work, but you could certainly make the argument that if there is very important stuff that Bobby simply just withheld telling people, that you could get in trouble with the SEC, which to somebody in Bobby's profession is not good.
Yep, absolutely. Especially when you consider the Wall Street Journal has access to documents that show us all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
So if the Wall Street Journal was able to find them, the SEC will obviously be able to find them. So in their investigation, this will all take part.
Yeah, absolutely. The next thing then is Fran Townsend, who has been a figurehead for a lot of hate. Mm-hmm. Wasn't really her email, though, as it turns out. So, do you remember this email that came out? You know, the one that was basically just like, these, you know, distorted, untrue picture of the company, fact sheet, all this stuff that apparently came from Fran, you know, signed Fran. No, this was actually drafted up by Bobby. Now, I think to a lot of people, that's like a big shock. Mm-hmm. But I think to a lot of people who are used to corporate communications, they're pretty used to people just having emails that are signed by them, that were not written by them, people who do speeches that are written by speechwriter. And I think this is one of those situations where clearly Bobby wanted to grab the reins of the situation, and the decision was obviously made that Fran was the delivery vector for pretty obvious reasons, because she was the corporate sponsor of the Women's Network at the company. So I think to a lot of people like who work in big corporate settings are going to get that this sort of thing generally does happen. I think that it's like here, it's almost like that standard level of corporate insincerity. But when it applies to a case like this and a story like this, it's particularly bad, especially when Fran Townsend then gets all of the flack for it online, all of the fallout. I mean, this is the email that sparked the first employee walkout. And then Bobby later called that message from Fran tone deaf. Of course, that was a message that he drafted. Now, perhaps Fran added in one or two things later for the final draft, but the core messaging of that was, it appears, done by Bobby himself. So, I mean, yeah, you're just a bit of a goblin.
Yeah, like in terms of the actual like outcome of this, it just looks like he completely fired Fran under the bus.
Yeah.
Just without any remorse whatsoever. At least it appears that way to us.
Yeah, and then reportedly, Kotick personally approves most company-wide emails and media responses. Makes sense. Of course, you know, that gives me some thoughts. I think about the Jen Oneal departure email.
Yeah.
That seemed very, you know, oh, I'm not leaving because I don't have faith in the company. I'm leaving because I have faith in the company, and I'm spurred on to lead further change in the industry. And that is obviously not meshing with what's coming out in this reporting. Yep. And it just makes you look at that and think, oh, so I guess Jen's words weren't really her own there, were they?
Clearly not. You
have to wonder what sort of circumstances leads to somebody like Jen basically having to put their name on a message like that. I mean, perhaps it was the case where it was going to be a messy fallout, and from Jen's perspective, it was like, well, I can get out and I can strong-arm them into making a donation to an organization I care about. You know, who knows really how it went on. But just, you know, again, this stuff, again, does happen in companies. It's just that when it is applied to this story and what's going on, it obviously is, I think, an eye-opening thing for people.
I mean, yeah, it's also fun because it's not like this obviously happens in companies all across the place, but not everyone always has a look into how that works. So it's the kind of thing where if it's normal for this stuff to happen, but then it gets thrown into the like limelight around Activision-Blizzard's behavior, and then everyone goes, hang on, this clearly isn't in any capacity right or acceptable. Then you're like, well, is this how the whole every company runs?
It's like you'd expect this kind of thing from, you know, oh, the most recent version of our product has annoyed a few of our, you know, corporate customers, so we're going to draft an email has been drafted by the department, signed off by the CEO. I think it's just that it comes off so inhuman when it's being applied to a case like this with what's actually going on. So to continue then, the board of directors was blindsided by the California lawsuit's allegations, including that an Activision employee killed herself after, I suppose that'll get the video suppressed by YouTube probably, but an extremely personal region was allegedly circulated at a company party, according to people familiar with the board. Again, what the fuck? What? Yes. So directors have questioned Mr. Kotick about basically what he knew and why they had not been informed. So Kotick is probably getting some flack from the board right now. He told them that any cultural issues, you see, were centered at Blizzard Entertainment. That unit, full of those, those pesky metal-loving nerds with too much alcohol and... You know, that's how it feels to me, right? Like he was just trying to It's Blizzard, it's Blizzard.
Yeah, it's
not though.
Yeah, it's very much him seemingly shifting blame to Blizzard because that's that's more external to Activision than the likes of Sledgehammer or Treyarch, where a lot of this stuff actually went on.
Yeah. So Activision-Blizzard has received more than 500 complaints since the DFEH lawsuit broke over the summer. These raised things from harassment, sexual assault, bullying, pay disparity, and other issues. Now, what I would like to know, and it's not really in the reporting, but is this 500 is this just 500 complaints from, then to now? Is this a lot of people, they've been pissed off about their pay situation or something that happened to them a few months ago, and it's only now that this has happened that they're actually using those channels? I don't know exactly. If there's going to be a big surge, I imagine there's not historical, but recent historical. So, I doubt that it's these 500 things have happened just over a few months.
Yeah.
I imagine there's probably a backlog of complaints that were not dealt with that people were probably emboldened to finally, get handled.
Yeah, I think that's the implication of this stat actually being in the reporting is that this is a whole wave of actual stuff being brought to light now.
Yeah, so then we move on to Bobby himself. So there are allegations here. He's been accused by several women of mistreatment, both inside and outside the workplace, and in some instances has worked to settle the complaints quickly and quietly, according to people familiar with the matters and documents that the Wall Street Journal looked at. So one of them, in 2006, one of his assistants complained that he had harassed her, including by threatening in a voicemail to have her killed. According to people familiar with the matter. He settled this out of court, and a spokesperson said, Mr. Kotick quickly apologized 16 years ago for the obviously hyperbolic and inappropriate voicemail, and he deeply regrets the exaggeration and tone of his voicemail to this day. It's the sort of thing where, even if he does have a rage bender and screams down the phone at somebody, you can't do that.
No.
You can't do that in a corporate setting. You can't do that. It's not a thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's so bad in this current environment.
I mean, yeah.
It's so bad for any just any credibility or anything like that this group's going to be able to have to muster.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's it's the PR loss of all this old stuff is starting to catch back up to him. It was dealt with, fair enough, but all of the records still exist, so any wrongdoing in the past is going to come out. And it's I'm just thinking, how bad does it have to be that you will not say, I'm going to kill you, but to threaten to have someone killed in a voicemail on the phone? Not talking to them face to face where you're likely to be more angry, but in a voicemail, leaving a memo saying you're going to have them killed. Honestly, that sounds if someone you shot, I gotta kill you, that's okay, you can understand anger, it's hyperbolic, but when it's have them killed, from a multimillionaire, knowing how much it actually, how much it costs to have someone killed,
you don't need to be a multi.
Yeah, it's a genuine, it's a genuine threat, and it's a colder and darker threat than something out of more personal anger. I think.
Especially with his assistant. They have you killed. It's I'm going to delegate the task of your death to someone else. Now, I'm not claiming that this was said by Bobby in a, this is an actual claim of I am literally going to hire someone to do this. Chances are it probably is a sort of, a rage situation. But the thing is, somebody in his position would actually have the means to do that. Right? Would have the means, and the way that it's done, have them killed. That is really exaggerating the power dynamics and the power differential, in this case between him and the assistant, which, just does make it worse. I mean, the power dynamics are there, right? They're there anyway, no matter what he says. It's just that his specific wording calls them into, it highlights it.
Yeah.
So that's not good. Now, something similar to being killed is being destroyed. And supposedly he said that as well. So 2007, he was sued by the flight attendant on a private jet he co-owned. The flight attendant claimed the plane's pilot sexually harassed her, and after she complained to the other owner, Mr. Kotick fired her. The defendants denied the allegations. in a separate action related to legal fees in the case, an arbitrator, citing what he said was sworn testimony, wrote that Mr. Kotick told the flight attendant and her attorneys, quote, "I'm going to destroy you." I think that's probably more like, I'm going to destroy you in a legal sense.
Yeah.
I am so fucking rich. Mountains of money and lawyers are going to descend upon you.
Yeah, the kind of you're never going to work in this town again sort of vibes.
Yeah. So with this one, there's no proof, and it's being denied. Unlike the other one, where the voicemail does exist, and it would be quite odd if that voicemail came out. It would be a bit of an uncomfortable listen. In 2008, they settled by paying the attendant $200,000, according to the arbitrator's decision. And the spokesman for Mr. Kotick said that he could not have fired her in retaliation for complaining because she never complained to him directly. Now, that is quite an interesting logic thing. Of course he could have. He co-owned the plane.
Yeah.
He could have done it on the word of the other co-leader who she complained to. So, I mean...
it's desperate when you're trying to look for a defense. You're like, well, she didn't complain to him directly, so how could he possibly have known she complained? You're like, okay, sure, go for that, I guess.
Bizarre. And then the other thing that people are, of course, raising in all of this, certain individual... certain individual who had, a black book and also an aeroplane. Yep. This aeroplane went to, I believe, a certain island or something. Yep. And some very bad things happened there. Bobby Kotick was actually on that black book. Now, lots of other people also did feature on this book. Yeah. I'm not going to get too much into the case with this individual. It's a very fascinating thing. A lot of people believe that individual was some form of... There's so many ranges of opinions, as an example, one including that, that individual is an intelligence asset, and that a lot of this is getting shit and dirt on the sort of tech and science elite. As a business leader, it is and isn't surprising that he's there, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it is obviously...
Yeah.
Because we all know what went on in that island.
Yeah, I mean,
or, whatever it was.
No one's looking at this as hard evidence of any sort. It's just the fact that in the world of PR, you don't need hard evidence. Obviously, in a legal trial, you need hard evidence. But in terms of people looking, this could be used as part of an assault on Bobby's character.
Yeah.
Which is what's going to happen, and that's where we get to ultimately the sort of overall thing here of people wanting Bobby to be gone at last.
Yeah, it's that thing of, even a side thing, take Kevin Spacey, and just a number of the accusers die. Now, I'm not saying anything that happened there, but to everyone looking at the situation, whoa, what? And when we're talking about PR here, that's public relations. So, what combination of this in a few tweets is somebody going to see? And is it going to be that Bobby Kotick said this and also appeared in this? Now, you could take those two data points and draw a number of different conclusions. Our point here is that PR-wise, it's a massive fucking shit show.
Absolutely.
That's mostly the situation here, and it's why with the Kotick stuff, a lot of it is, I think, standard evil corporate brushing things under the rug.
Yeah.
Combined with those historical issues. We do need to see if there are any, harassment or anything like that has happened with Mr. Kotick recently. It's that, and then I think the more, I don't want to say newsworthy, because this is all extremely newsworthy, but the more, I guess, recent, pertinent thing is on Jen Oneal.
Yeah, the breaking news of sorts.
Yeah, because we all thought to ourselves, okay, this is weird. She's the co-leader of Blizzard. I mean, for studio head of Vicarious Visions, that's a great role, but leading Blizzard? Pretty good role.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'd think, wow, that's going to mean a pay bump. That's perhaps a time where there's a lot of company will to make good change. They've, these two co-leaders are going to be representing more people in the company, and you sort of think, okay, well, she's probably going to want to take this baton and run with it and try to make all the change that she could. And then she's gone very, very quickly.
Yeah, she's fired the baton over the hedge, went, I'm not dealing with this anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And we all at the time were thinking, what's going on? She's disappeared. She's left this statement. That statement feels weird and kind of implausible. And there's this $1 million donation. What?
You put 2 and 2 together, you don't get 4. You're like, what's going on here?
Yeah, and, well, most of us, I think, assumed, based on what we'd read from Jen's departure mail, that something was fishy. And, yes, it was fishy. So, right, Oneal was made co-leader of Blizzard in August, making her the first woman to lead one of the company's business units. A month later, she sent an email to Activision's legal team professing a lack of faith in leadership to turn the company culture around, saying, quote, "It was clear that the company would never prioritize our people the right way."
That's damning.
And if you look at the stuff with Bobby, what has it all been? It has been under the rug, make more Call of Duty. Now, so she doesn't have much faith going into this, which is interesting. So I have to imagine she probably had some meetings, saw some emails, whatever, in that first month in this new role. Not to speculate, because perhaps she'll tell her story at some point. Perhaps she's also NDA'd the fuck out of it.
Almost certainly.
But it seems like in that first month something must have changed.
Yeah.
Oneal outlined in her email that she had been sexually harassed earlier in her Activision career, and that she was being paid less than her male counterpart, the other Blizzard co-leader, Mike Ybarra. And we do actually have we have a little bit more reasoning on that. Now, this is when Oneal wanted to discuss her resignation, stating that she felt she was tokenized, marginalized, and discriminated against as a gay Asian American woman. So, tokenized. Is that her just feeling like because she is a gay woman,
Yeah.
she's like, hey, we got one of them. Look, be happy. Which, again, I guess then the thing is, a lot of Blizzard employees were actually genuinely happy to see her there. So, you could say that if Activision-Blizzard actually had the corporate will to back up their public posturing and even their posturing to their own staff, then maybe it could have been a good thing, but it seems like they never truly had the will. They didn't really have the will properly underneath it all.
Yeah, so for like a little bit of speculation, how I think that maybe sort of went is I imagine she joined with, first of all, like, okay, I'm co-leader with Mike Ybarra, so I don't like have complete control over everything, and then likely just wanted to make some changes or try to set some things in stone, but other management likely were like, nah, that's not how we do things around here. We know you're the leader, but you're sort of not really. I imagine that's the vibe they got, because obviously we've always been speculating for the past long time now that Blizzard didn't really always have the most control over stuff, and Activision would kind of push them around a little bit. At least that's the vibe.
I heard from a source 2 years ago that Activision moving in was like literally what happened when Morhaime was gone. Now, of course, bad things happened under Morheime's tenure, but the Activision encroachment certainly happened after Morhaime.
Yeah, so I imagine
the deeper encroachment. It was always there. The pressures were always there, but the more overt.
Yeah, so I imagine that, especially because she's from Activision, she likely showed up, was like, okay, well, what can I do here? And other Activision managers were like, nah, not really all that much, actually. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. That is for, there's another a bit of color from the article. She described a party for an Activision development studio she attended with Mr. Kotick around 2007, with scantily clad women dance, where they danced on stripper poles. At the same party, DJ encouraged female attendees to drink more so the men would have a better time, according to one person who was present. And it's the sort of thing where, not to diminish that sort of thing was actually fairly standard.
Yeah.
Like booth babes and all of that stuff. Yep. That sort of party, fairly standard in the games industry. I don't know about 2007, but certainly in the earlier 2000s.
I can't remember when. It was somewhere between 2006 2009, I think. But Phil Spencer, actually, in the recent interviews he gave for the Xbox 20th anniversary stuff, he also talked about like being at a party like that for Xbox, or like helping to throw it, and then like talking about how much he regrets it now because it wasn't right, but it was a done thing at the time. So it was a done thing, but it wasn't like people still knew. We know what we're doing here. It just isn't. It doesn't feel as wrong now or back then as it does today, I think.
Yeah, but hey, no problem, because Bobby has no memory of this party.
Yeah. I think that's the fun thing. Phil Spencer goes up and talks. Yeah, this was a party. I wasn't the most comfortable thing. We kind of regret that. We're changing things up now. And then Bobby's like, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Wasn't there?
So like, Phil probably did nearly the same thing
Yeah.
as Bobby. Or, it was basically the same situation.
Yep.
He owns up to it. It can seemingly back up that the good changes are being made. People are happy. People are willing to say, oh, okay, so those things in the past that we don't really like, you actually try to move on from those. Oh, good. Well, we'll support you in this. And then Activision just like, wasn't me. It wasn't me. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Just kind of what it feels like. Now on the pay issue. So the thing here is that they had the same role. Now they could have the same role, slightly different responsibilities, which could mean different compensation or whatever. But well, look, that melts away when you look at what Jen and Mike actually wanted to do, basically. So this is part of an internal statement from Mike Ybarra. Came out. I mean, time zones are a bit fiddly, but came out in the last 20 hours.
Yeah, it was. I believe it was during the workday in America yesterday.
Yeah.
I believe.
Okay. Yeah. So I have been asked and want to make it clear. Jan and I shared with management that we wanted to be paid the same to co-lead Blizzard together. Jan and I were on existing contracts. I ran Battle.net and online products. She ran Vicarious Visions, so our pay was different. So there you go. Ybarra probably was on more money from his previous contract. The first time both Jan and I were offered a new contract, it was the same across both of us for the new co-leader of Blizzard roles, so our compensation was going to be the same. So, what's happened then? If she was going to be paid the same, why did she bring it up? Why did her and Mike have to, talk about this stuff to Blizz management or Active Blizz management? Well, here's from Jen. When Mike and I were placed in the same co-lead role, we went into the role with our previous compensation, which was not equivalent. It remained that way for some time, well after we made multiple rejected requests to change it to parity. So that is the situation there. Jen and Mike both requesting they want to be paid the same. They've got the same title. It's what both these individuals want. And, well, Blizzard ends up just dragging its feet. They seem to have done that decently early. While the company informed me before I tendered my resignation that they were working on a new proposal, we were made equivalent offers only after I tendered the resignation. So I'd say overall, she's probably pretty furious with whatever happened in those first few months to make this resignation happen. We've not heard more from Ybarra on this. It certainly would be interesting to hear a little bit more here. Kind of doubt that'll really sort of get out. I mean, if this is a Blizzard internal email, did Bobby rubber stamp it?
I mean,
so we're not being led to believe so, but
yeah, so
undoubtedly something people would be thinking given the Wall Street Journal.
So I think the stuff from Mike and Jen here was from Slack, internal communications, so not direct emails. I believe Mike also sent an email, but this was just them talking basically. I don't know if it was like an announcement channel or something, but it was a communication on Slack versus something that was a big official thing. This was a little bit more informal. At least that's the vibe I get from reading the reports.
I think the more we just hear from these two, the better. Right now, it seems like Blizzard essentially dragged their feet. It seems like they messed up in losing her quite significantly.
Yeah.
They probably mismanaged and misjudged the situation. And additionally, I would say, if you have all of these allegations going on, like what's the correct strategic move with Jen and Mike? Is to get them in and immediately pay them the same.
Yeah.
That's like public relations strategy. That is the correct move. And I know that's, something people might hear that and think, well, that's a bit cold. But like, can you imagine having all of the allegations being leveled at you that Activision-Blizzard has, and then not doing equal pay at the very top? Like, think about the risk if that story gets out. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's... I don't want to say it's like, if you're going to be evil, I don't want to say like, if you're going to be evil, at least be good, but it's pretty amateurish of a mistake from a... Like, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, you look at all the shit that's led to Jen and Mike being there, and you're like, how on earth could you not immediately just pay them the same, to make it all equal, because that's what's going to work. That's what's going to even expose you to the least risk if it leaks out, right?
Yeah, like they're actually cartoonishly evil in how they come across.
Yeah.
It's really insane to me because it's like the fact that they made multiple requests and they were rejected.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean rejected? How do you not just go, oh, you want to be paid the same? Makes sense to me. Work away. Like, it's not like this is going to end up being like, millions and millions of change pay. It's going to be like, yeah, there you go. Just what's that? A couple extra, extra 10, 20 grand a year to bring them together. Maybe even extra 100 grand. I mean,
could be more than that and stock options.
Okay, fair.
But not enough to matter to a company like Activision-Blizzard.
Yeah, it's a case of like, why are they being cartoonishly evil when at this time, at least pretend to be good. At least pretend to care. Yeah. But they aren't actually pretending to care in their actions. It's just their words. It's just the cold legalese that slips out of them every time they open their mouth, as opposed to anything meaningful or useful. It's insane. Like you're saying, I don't understand. I don't understand the motives of just not doing the thing that everyone knows is right, especially when you've got massive employee problems in the inside, because that just means everything you say is going to leak.
Yeah.
We're going to see so many. I imagine Wall Street Journal got all this stuff from Blizzard employees going, yeah, fuck this place.
I am happy to screenshot all of Slack and send it to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, like.
So there's some other highlights from the Wall Street Journal. An Activision spokesperson confirmed that HR only began reporting directly to the corporate office in 2019. And the prior setup, quote, occasionally allowed some employees to conduct themselves in truly regrettable ways. Kotick also approves high-level hiring decisions as well as the exit and pay packages of so-called star developers. So, the Wall Street Journal say he typically would be aware of any major problems across Activision-Blizzard's development studios and business areas. However, an Activision spokesperson has disputed this. Now, Kotick, with Dan Bunting, the Treyarch guy, so Kotick reportedly intervened to keep Dan Bunting, co-head of Treyarch, when a 2019 internal HR investigation recommended he be fired. So one of the things, like, Activision Blizzard HR is something that is being criticized. This is a situation where even internal HR says that this Dan Bunting has got to go. Mm-hmm. Right? Even when the HR, the people who are kind of there to protect the company, have decided that it's in the company's best interest to get rid of this guy, Kotick comes in and basically is for sexually harassing an employee, and Kotick talks it down to counseling.
Fine, there you go.
An outside investigation was completed in 2020, and a spokesperson confirmed after considering potential actions in light of that investigation, the company elected not to terminate Mr. Bunting, but instead impose other disciplinary measures. However, I think Bunting probably realized, well, look, everyone knows I've done this. My position is untenable, so Bunting ends up leaving the company of his own accord shortly after. Activision also did not tell investors about the more than 2-year-long Equal Opportunity Employment Commission investigation until that became public. So that's going to feel cool. They only disclosed the SEC probe following questioning. Now, it's okay, everyone, because Bobby's here. And, a thing that I do on this channel, and I suppose you know as well, is read from a teleprompter. Right? It's sometimes it's part of a job, and that's just the sort of thing I'll put words in the teleprompter, a script that I've written, that Jared's written, or you've written, whatever, right? That's the way it goes, like with Linus Tech Tips or so many other channels. But when you're doing a teleprompter, it is what it is. It helps you keep on task, helps you keep nice, trim. You don't waffle on or anything like that. But it does mean that the two of us are pretty used to seeing somebody reading a teleprompter.
Yeah.
And sometimes when people come across oddly slow, oddly corporate, sometimes I like to think of it as if they're trying to forcefully emulate Obama speaking slowly.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was the thing. He'd always speak very slowly. Whenever people speak slowly, it's generally taken to mean, very authoritative. Now, there's some telltale signs. I mean, number one, lighting. Just look at his eyes. You can see the lighting. I'm not... Because it's just to say that, whatever this is, like, if you look at his eyes, you can see him scanning across the teleprompter, reading the script. I guess, in my head, I understand why a company would do this for their response. To me, it just doesn't feel really that sincere. And I guess it's like he's clearly reading some, scripted thing. And the way that he sounds in this video is feels very unnatural.
Yeah.
I would say. And, just given some of those other statements that have came out, the Fran Townsend email that he drafted and then later he said was tone deaf. And then, here he is reading another script. I think there's just a level of being jaded about this sort of thing that has hit consumers and, of course, the employees as well, who are furious.
Yeah, I mean, he's robotic almost. He's robotic within a certain realm because he does like do a good enough job coming across like, speaking slowly, speaking genuinely, speaking like considerately, but it just doesn't ring as like human speech. It's very carefully. It's not cold, but it's very careful and it's very calculated. And it helps when he's just reading a legalese script off a teleprompter. It just doesn't come across like he gives a shit. That's basically it. He doesn't smile. He doesn't frown. There's no emotion. It's I wouldn't be half surprised if it turns out that was a Bobby Kotick, a really well made Bobby Kotick robot reading that out. Honestly, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, and we expect better because he of course did have an acting role in the movie Moneyball, which is a weird thing to have. Yep. Stumbled upon one day in researching him for a video. Mm-hmm. I think our Life and Times of Bobby Kotick video may need a few amends.
I certainly hope there's a section we can add in called Time After Activision-Blizzard, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, well, that's certainly what the employees want.
Yep.
So basically, he goes through things. He says that there's an article today that paints an inaccurate and misleading view of our company and me personally. It's a sort of thing where it's like, did Bobby act after he said, I'll have you killed and I'll destroy you, did he then just sort of act perfectly after that? And, maybe you could say that he personally, in communications with other people, wasn't harassing or anything like that. But you then have the things of, didn't tell the board, brushed things under the rug, the bunting guy from Treyarch, probably more things that we don't know about. And that's... that's where it doesn't really ring super true to people. Basically, it's just, as I think is well put, legally safe promises of grand change without specifics. Yep. Just not. The video ain't going to do the job they think it'll do.
Yeah, especially when like you get into like the next segment where he goes like, the second thing I want to say, anyone who doubts my conviction to be the most welcoming, inclusive workplace doesn't really appreciate how important this is to me. And I was listening to that and I was like, this isn't about you. Yeah. Obviously the article was about you and your misdeeds and stuff like that. But this overarching story isn't about you. Why are you trying to play yourself off like a victim of reporting? Like, oh no, these mean journalists have attacked my character like by reporting facts about your past. And that's what they've done. Like, it's...
Yeah, I mean, all I can say is I want to see more facts about his past.
Absolutely.
I want to see what are the facts that adds to this story. Are there facts to take away from this story? I just want to know more.
Yeah.
And certainly Activision-Blizzard is going to be a very leaky ship. So I would not be surprised if we start to learn more, in addition to that subpoena. Yeah. If that subpoena can, uncover some things, then we'll be able to get a better picture of everything. So that's one of those things. Time passes, we learn more, and that certainly is a good thing. But right now, it is looking very, very bad indeed, and that has many people wondering, is it the end of Bobby? Well, the Better ABK group are, of course, talking about the zero tolerance policy and thinking that really should be applying to the C-suite as well. Jason Schreier, there's Valentine Powell, who I believe works on the WoW team. I could be wrong, but the in-person... there's an in-person walkout. Of course, a lot of the people are work from home, but a lot of the work from home people are, joining in and not working during the time of the, of the walkout. So I think that number ended up being at like 200 people. I saw some people being like, lol, 200 people out of 9 or 10,000, nothing's going to change. Probably is more because of the virtual people. Now that said, this is the Blizzard one.
Yeah.
Has the same happened at Activision? Has it happened at Treyarch and Sledgehammer, stuff like that? Yeah, don't really know. It does seem like Blizzard is the company with the employee base who is going to be the most active on this issue.
Also, they have the campus that they can go to.
Yeah.
that they're likely all run closer to, as opposed to, you know, people living up the other offices being a bit more spread out about the place.
The whole business unit's highly localized.
Yep.
Yeah, indeed. So, yeah, there you go. People calling for Bobby Kotick to no longer be there, which I think is a pretty understandable sentiment, given everything that people are finding out today. Now, there's been some other things. Washington Post reported at the scene, talking about, they're pushing employees to the brink. Lots of references to damaging morale and productivity. That's from Jennifer, an ex-Quest designer on World of Warcraft, who also attended the event. I mean, no shit, morale is going to be absolutely awful at the minute. And I think there's so many issues for morale to be awful. I mean, for the World of Warcraft team, they just pushed out patch 9.2's reveal. And I actually saw the dislikes on it yesterday. And now my dislikes are gone again. So YouTube's just flitting all over the place. But it had 15k likes and like 20k dislikes. So, you know, the World of Warcraft team's in this situation where Shadowlands has been a bit of a wash. A lot of people haven't enjoyed it. They haven't enjoyed the story or the themes. They haven't really thought the characters and stuff like that made sense. And there's been big issues with the game design as well. The new patch gets revealed, and actually a bunch of those things probably are going to be better. But I think there's just a lot of residual damage. Yeah. So, like, the actual work and the product, that's going to be awful for morale. Diablo 4, you know, new game director, delay. Overwatch 2, new game director, delay. So, both in terms of their actual work that they're working on, also their compensation, because, the bonuses, remember the good times are also just around the corner. And now this.
Yeah, I mean, like that, they have to think whenever they wake up in the morning and either go to work or, you know, sit at their computer, what am I doing this for? Why am I working? What am I working towards? And obviously, you know, there's a lot of in-game development. A lot of it is for personal creative passions and to create for the audience, to create for people, stuff like that. But whenever you're, especially the World of Warcraft team, who are looking at a lot of players being dissatisfied, then obviously, you know, if you want to make for the players, you can work towards, you know, changes to make that better for them. But when you've put your hard work out there and there's more dislikes than likes on YouTube, and then you're thinking, well, that's a blow. But then you go, well, who's benefiting from my work? And you just look and it's like, well, what are the executives doing about like our situation? Absolutely nothing. Actually profiting from it, in, you know, without helping us in any capacity. It's just these kind of things are what, especially with how like people seem to be thinking in America quite a lot. There's a lot of that kind of, what's the whole point of all of this?
What are we doing this for again?
Why are we working again? What's this all about? And it's just, I can't imagine anyone in Activision-Blizzard like waking up and going, oh yeah, let's go to work. I feel happy. I'm going to make some great stuff for everyone to enjoy. When it's just, just all the money's going to Bobby Kotick and the players are all annoyed. Shit.
Yeah. And there's actually another good bit here from Washington Post's report. A current Activision employee who spoke in the condition of anonymity for fear of retaliation said they'd been afraid of returning to the office because they believed Kotick had, quote, threatened or used intimidation tactics in the past. Seeing in text from other people, it validates everything. So I imagine there's going to be stories, you know, shared amongst employees that are now going to have a bit more fuel thrown on them, a bit more validation. Another from Wall Street Journal then. Nothing in Activision-Blizzard's statement challenges the facts of our reporting. That's certainly a statement. However, a fairly swift board response was issued. Don't worry, everyone. It's all going to be fine.
Yep.
The Activision-Blizzard board remains committed to the goal of making Activision-Blizzard the most welcoming and inclusive company in the industry. Under Bobby Kotick's leadership, the company is already implementing industry-leading changes, including a zero-tolerance harassment policy, a dedication to achieving significant increases to percentages of women and NB people in the workplace, and significant internal and external investments to accelerate opportunities for diverse talent. The board remains confident that Bobby Kotick appropriately addressed workplace issues brought to his attention. Now, this is all quite funny because this presumably is, you know, the board also that Bobby Kotick didn't adequately report things to. And again, you just think, oh wait, this is a big statement coming out from a company. This is them in investor relations mode.
Yeah.
Given past statements, why are we even bothering to read? I mean, that's going to be the default emotional response of this. Of course, we do have to read it. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can't just let the emotional response of, fuck these gremlins, to rule the roost. But I think you can certainly see why people sort of read this thing and just kind of go, yeah, but nobody really seems to believe you. To continue, the goals we have set for ourselves are both critical and ambitious, and they remain confident in Bobby Kotick's leadership, commitment, and ability to achieve the results. Basically, he's the captain of the ship, and we remain confident in his captaincy.
Yep. Which is, fair enough if you genuinely believe that, but then you look at the employee walkout, and obviously, of course, it's a minority of employees, so you can't just go by, mob rule or mob justice for that stuff like that, but whenever you're like, yeah, we fully believe in his ability. Also, all this stuff's come out about him, even though we all knew it has been highlighted again. And the employees are like, the CEO needs to go. Or like, what? And you're just like, yep, he's fine. No further comment. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. So even if he does go, Stephen Totillo did point out that, if he's terminated with good reason, he gets nothing.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Now, the board are totally backing him up here, which maybe would make people think that won't be what happens. If he leaves without cause, he gets 15 million in cash and 250 million in equity. He'll be he'll be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Hard Drive did say that they could just change his name. As a company, we cannot stand to do nothing. We need to act, and that's why, effective immediately, we changed Bobby Kotick's name to Freddie Floyd. Hard Drive, they always hit. I would, of course, point out, though, what about Kotick Bobby?
Oh, yeah, Kotick Bobby.
Kotick Bobby.
From the little...
his previous name from the Black Book.
From the suspect Black Book.
Yep. So, look, there you go, everyone. That essentially is the story, along with the follow-up and the extra color that we could dredge up. Because we were actually sitting here yesterday evening, and we just thought, no, we're going to wait an extra day and see what happens overnight. I'm glad we did, because fair few statements, that stuff, the Slack stuff.
Yeah.
Jen and Mike, and man, rough.
Yeah.
I think right now there's no point in saying, where will it go from here? We just need to see.
Haven't a clue.
Just need to see, because I have a feeling, based on the past, I think it's a fair enough one, that more things will come out and we will learn more in due course.
Yeah, I feel like with this taking the way it's taking, I feel like it's going to come to a head over Bobby Kotick being CEO at some point. And I don't know if this will ever just cool off. I think there is a possibility that some concerns are addressed and everyone goes, we've done what we can. There's no point trying to fight the impossible. But I think that, especially with the SEC investigating and everyone else, imagine everyone else in the industry now reaching out to their contacts going, yo, anything juicy for us on this? We would like to break something. All that stuff. I imagine they'll just be, sort of hit piece after hit piece after hit piece on Bobby Kotick and Activision's board and basically most of their C-suite. I feel like this is going to come to a head at some point, or peter out, and we'll all just be disappointed by it. Hard to say.
Yeah. It's hard to know. I mean, so much of it does center around Bobby himself, and look, if he had historical issues, dealt with them, changed, and it was the case that he knew all the things that he knew, as was in this article, and they were dealt with appropriately, and the company was going in a good direction, then, at least, we could say that. Yeah. But right now, the thing, I think, that's... Because there's the things that are very, newsworthy, but very attention-grabbing. Like that completely absurd line about have you killed. Like, that's fucking absurd. What the hell? Yeah. The most material bit to the employee situation is how Bobby Kotick dealt with things in the last few years, when all of this was coming to light, when there's multiple investigations going on. And if, say, Dan Bunting, the Treyarch guy, was just gone because of that, and HR's recommendation was followed, and then proactively steps were taken, etc., 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 then maybe we'd be having a different conversation right now. But what it appears to be is that he did know about a lot of these things, and instead of do the right thing, which is to solve them appropriately, he tried to make them go away. And I suppose just do whatever was best for the short-term bottom line of the company. Yeah. And I think it is that bit, as much as the shock of some of those other things is very palpable in there, but I think it's that bit that is going to instill a pervasive sense of doom and a lack of hope, I think. Yeah. Especially in employees And I think that's why the employee response is forming around the idea of Bobby Kotick must go.
Yep. And I think a lot of that also comes from the Jen thing, because of course that was the tip of the spear. That's what employees felt. Jen's the tip of the spear. This is someone we can trust as someone who's done advocacy work. This is someone we can actually put ourselves behind and believe in to change Blizzard going forward. Never mind Activision at this point, just Blizzard going forward. And I mean, even we were speaking highly in terms of like how Vicarious Visions was ran as an actual, as a game company that output games. And then Jen just goes, I don't have faith in this company being able to change with the current leadership. I'm out. So everyone who's rallying behind her is like, where's our leader gone? Oh shit. I feel like that's an emotional hit that'll resonate against or with all of the staff, I think.
And actually on that, Blizzard just gave them all a week off.
Yep.
For Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some are sort of suspecting that that's to give a morale boost ahead of the bad news coming out, because they almost certainly knew this was coming out.
Yeah.
So that's that. Look, best I can say is we will keep you up to date as things happen with as complete coverage. We will gather everything we can find and bring it to you in a nice little package to help you understand what's going on. That's it for us. Have a great day. Certainly have a better day than thinking about all of this sort of does. Right. Look, we'll see you next time. Farewell.